Hello everyone, my name is Natil Senia and welcome back to the channel. I believe it's been about 8 or 9 months since my last video. I have been quite the busy bee with some of my other jobs, but I am back. Yes. Oh no. Hi. I'm glad to be back. Nonetheless, with another sketchbook tour. This one is going to be my character sketch collection book 2, finally finished. This one will be up on my Ko-fi shop for free to download. Link will be in the description below. But yeah, it's been quite a bit of time, busy working and whatnot. But regardless, I've kept up drawing pretty much almost every day. And I'm working towards my projects. That be my my animatics books and comics. Never letting go of this dream of mine. But let's go ahead and dive in. Just like my other sketchbook tour videos, I'm just gonna be going through the books, looking at what I've drawn, maybe give a bit of commentary here and there. But as always, you're more than welcome to pause the video if you see something that you like and just look at it. But again, a whole downloaded scan of the book itself will be available on my Ko-fi again for free. It should be up in my shop once this video drops on YouTube. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and go right into the book. I am holding my phone with my hand, so if I'm a little bit wobbly, I do apologize. I do hope to someday invest in a good phone or phone holder or like an actual camera for recording. But for the most part, we're just sticking, with what I have for now. This side is blank. I've learned I don't like drawing on these very slippery inner covers of this particular sketchbook, and that's okay. Here we have the first page, title, of course, Character Sketch Collection Book 2. This is going to be from November 5th of last year, 2025, to yesterday. Today is August 19th, 2026. That's when this video should be released. Again, this video is all in one go, no cuts. So what I say is what happens. Decided to finally put my name down here in my sketchbooks. But very much like my previous sketchbooks, there's going to be just a bunch of sketches of my characters, typically from mine, or I'm looking at pose references and just drawing and learning from there. Here goes Celine. This is Celine Act 1. Her story is called Hichara. It's about her being a thief. And yeah, bottom text. Here is Captain Chiari. Captain Chiari is the one to hire Celine in Act 1 very early on to help with becoming like a notorious pirate crew. So this is them, Act 1. These are still concept designs. I know I pretty much solidified Celine's design for Act 1, and I'm still working on Captain Chiari's here. This is a short little comic I wanted to try making, just to say I made a comic last year. So this is Silent Nivora. There once was a dragon who watched over everything. Of course, we don't really see the dragon in entirety. I was very deliberate with that, but we do see a chessboard here. This will all make sense. I know it's kind of just here, but it is connected to all of my work. More sketches of Celine. Hi, she's my Blorbo Bleebless of all time. I love drawing her. I made her back in 2009, so she's my oldest character. So yes, she perhaps one could say my favorite. Act 3 design. Another Act 3 design. Act 3 she knows. I know she is skilled in martial arts, specifically karate. So I try to draw her practicing in those poses and whatnot. More sketches of her, all in Act 3. Act 3 is my favorite act of Celine to draw. It's the most, to me, that is the Celine design right there. And then some more, her spear, just sitting down. I'm just practicing poses here and there with her. And then here we have a different character of mine. His name is Pepperjack. He is a werefox. He is a hunter, and he appears in my story Emberguard, which is also a comic. It's set like as a western, like yeehaw western, but fantasy. He's not the main character. We will get to see the main character later on in the book. Wait, these are just expression practices with him, and me just getting used to drawing him. Very much enjoy these. More Celine sketches. I typically draw her to help me warm up for the day. More Captain Chiari. This is Captain Chiari's Act 3 design. Though you will see later on in the video that this becomes outdated for the most part. Like the majority of her design stays the same, but it's her hairstyle that I have changed. So this is like kind of like her old outdated design, but not quite. More Celine fighting poses, probably just like me warming up for the day. More Captain Chiari. So these two, Celine and Captain Chiari, go very much hand in hand. Celine is Captain Chiari's like right hand man on the pirate ship. She's half siren, so whenever she's in salt water, her hair becomes like this very long fin. She swims, and then she's out getting fish for herself. Me experimenting with proportions on Celine here. I didn't like how these sketches turned out with me trying to explore proportions. I know this particular page was popular on my socials, but I personally didn't like it. So I'm over here being like, well, now I'm going to draw Celine how I typically draw Celine, and this is more in line to how I typically draw her proportion-wise, which I prefer this one. More Captain Chiari, me trying to get better at drawing muscles because she is very muscular. She takes pride in her strength. And here's Komi. These are outdated. These are outdated sketches for the most part. Horo here is not supposed to have the long pointed ears. They're supposed to have just regular human ears. So I'm just like, wait, that's a mistake on my part. So technically not canon because of the whole ears. But for the most part, everything else is good. So this is Komimi Zuta. The story that they're in, they are the main character of Frostfit, which is very high fantasy, set mostly in, sorry, words, sort of like in a Japanese setting, for the most part. That's where we like began, so that's why I like style clothing and whatnot. But we get to explore Komini's journey. The whole premise of their story, Frostfit, is that they wake up and they're dead. They're dead, but they're still walking around on Anvir, the realm. Like, they didn't die, but they are dead. So, and they're trying to just like retrace their steps of like what exactly happened to them that caused them to die. They're not a ghost or anything. Like, they still have a corporeal body and whatnot, but still the whole mystery. Here's Cheddar! Cheddar, me boy. Sorry. Cheddar is from Hichara. Same story as Celine. He appears in Act 3, so this one is his Act 3 design. This is his Act 4 design, and this is just him catching a really big fish because he's really good at hunting and whatnot. So, oh god. Ooh. So here is the concept sketch of the Riddle's Maw. So these are the sketches. I'm not sure if I drew the sketches first before the story, if I made the story before drawing these. The Riddle's Maw is my first really story. You can listen to me reading it on my channel. And then there's also like a free PDF on my shop if you want to like download it and read it there instead. But this is, I guess, the antagonist of the story. It's a very short story. It's like literally not even a 10-minute read. But it's about Niesta and Pinkoya, two Ingel, who visit the Riddle's Maw, here, this little guy, for a wish. And yeah. I do have a thing in which I try not to draw or design characters of mine that are from written works, so I probably won't end up drawing Niesta and Pinkoya, but I do know the Riddle's Maw here does appear in Hichara. So, and that's the comic, so I'm like, I do have to end up designing them. But here they are, little itty bitty, little Fae. Little trickster. More cheddar. So this is Act 4, his Yeehaw fit right here. He's on the ship. He's also part of Captain Kiari's crew as the navigator. So he's just here hanging on parts of the ship. More Selene. I love her. She's great. Here are some concept sketches of Pyron Aravan, me trying to figure out his hairstyle and armor. I think I eventually settled on something similar to this, but I was like trying to explore like different hairstyles and also his armor. Learning how to draw armor and whatnot. I think this is like the only sketches of him in this book. But on my archives there's other art of him. He appears in Hichara. More or less as a side character to Selene. He is a bounty hunter. And at first, well, he's aware of Selene being a thief, and it's like, technically, he has to, like, arrest her and whatnot, but he makes some deals with her in the story, and more or less, for the majority of the story, they do get along with each other. They are aware of, like, the situation at hand, like, okay, like, yes, he's a bounty hunter, she's a notorious thief, but, they overall, like, get along with each other pretty well. Here goes Miyaki Tan. A lot of people are a big fan of him, but here he is just being all silly. He's a side character in Hichara as well. He appears mostly in Act 1, Act 2, and a little bit of Act 3. He claims to be a Hicharan thief, and he's very, very flamboyant. He kind of pisses Selene off. Just a little bit, but she tolerates him. And they do end up becoming, like, pretty, like, decent friends. But, very, like, cousin-like playful behavior. Here goes Sir Cepheus Palace. He is a knight. Me just sketching him, figuring out his design of clothing here. Very much like a samurai. He appears in Hichara Act 2, and he claims to be Selene's older brother, to which she's like, no, you're wrong. I know some of this information I've most definitely talked about in my other videos, but it's nice to touch upon it again, especially for people, this might be their first time, being introduced to my works. So it's like, you know, quick little crash course on some of my characters and whatnot. Here's Ocean, from my animatic project Ocean Drive. She's pretty. When I designed her, I was like, I want to make a really pretty lady, so I was like, this is a really pretty lady to me. But her whole thing is that she's trying to infiltrate the corporation known as NME, so that's going to be like N, the letter N, NME, so that stands for Nia Mara Enterprises. And her whole deal is like she has to break in and mess around with their stuff and take them down. Yes. She's fun. Here goes the protagonist of Emberguard. So this is going to be Bitterroot Rediviva. They are a were-snake, and specifically they are a their animal counterpart is the Western Hognose snake. They have the Sunburst morph. So if you want to know what that looks like, because I know this is all like black and white, just look up Western Hognose Sunburst morph for the snake. But also, they do have like colored ref and whatnot on the archives under the Emberguard folder. I love them so much. They are yeehaw cowboy. Well, the proper term is Herd's Keep on Anvir, but gosh, I love them. And there goes their partner here, romantic partner, Pepperjack, more Pepperjack. And then the second romantic partner to Bitterroot. Here goes Sheriff Honeybranch. So she is also a werefox, but she is the sheriff in town, taking care of everyone there. She is an adopt I got from Ramen Thief on Blue Sky. So I did not design her, but she still belongs to me. I still have like the rights to her as a character. So she will be appearing in my stories and whatnot. But big shout out to Ramen Thief. Thank you for the very lovely character. Here goes Captain Ladaros. He is Captain Chiari's father. So his full name is Captain Ladaros Chiari, and then Captain Chiari in Hachara, her first name is Milena, but of course for formalities and whatnot, she goes by Captain Chiari, he goes by Captain Ladaros. Here goes sorry, here goes Leon from Emberguard, a little 10-year-old Leon. Cheddar is just his nickname in Hachara, but in Emberguard, when he's younger, he doesn't have that nickname quite yet, so he still goes by Leon. So he is reluctantly taken in by Pepperjack, who ends up introducing Leon to Bitterroot and Honeybranch, and all three of them kind of just serve as Leon's fathers to raise this child. Some sketches of the character. Her name is Mother. She insists that everyone call her Mother, but she is a saltwater siren. This is her spear. She keeps as a little hair accessory. And whenever she sings, her singing bubbles turn into her daughters. They are called the Daughters, which are pretty much just more saltwater sirens. More sketches of Bitterroot, me trying to figure out how their sword is connected to their belt and whatnot, more about the design. This is a finalized sketch of the design I ended up making digital and colored and whatnot. And here I start to kind of dive more into making comics, just little rough comics and whatnot, at least not formally, but at least sequential images and whatnot. So we have Selene in Act 1 here, sleeping, surrounded by Fae. I think this was very much Selene and Fae interaction centered. So I believe there goes the Sky Twins, little Wind Fae right here. Her walking on the beach. This is either sunset or hold on, it's sunset. Yeah, this is sunset. Her in her room reading. And there is the Weaver of Dew right there. And then her just holding the Sky Twins, which are, I guess, her quote-unquote Fae. She saved them, and then now they're like, oh, you saved our lives, so now we're going to be part of yours forever. And she's like, okay. Very silly. So more diving into, just drawing images in sequence, doing a bit more comic practice. I won't be going into detail about what's said here, but again, this entire thing is going to be available on my shop, so you're more than welcome to take your time and read through these. This is a concept for a character known as the Nameless Knight. I think Centaur. Yes, Centaur-like. I had a lot of fun drawing them, and I do look forward to drawing them even more. They do appear in Hachara, and is one of the characters that Selene and Co. Face off against. Here goes more Captain Chiari sketches. Here is Cheddar. Cheddar in Act 3. I think this is early Act 3. He's working. He's been recruited on the ship, so he's working. And then he notices Selene working, and how he just notes about how much effort she puts into doing her work on the ship. This is when he starts to admire her for that. Some Chetline sketches. Act 4. We could see his Act 4 outfit changes, hairstyle changes, but very cute Chetline sketches. There's not as much Chetline in this book as there was in book 1. I probably will be making a dedicated Chetline sketchbook because they deserve it. Here goes Winter. She does appear in Hachara, but she also is the protagonist of her own story, which is going to be The Whisperer of Stone. And that's about her being the next guardian in line in the realm known as Alcandra. So she's being raised to fulfill that role and take back Alcandra from her tyrannic father, Caliph. Here goes more Komi sketches, Komimi. This is when they're figuring out that they are indeed half Fae. And they've been proposed a marriage to free themselves from their curse, which is keeping them alive despite being dead. And it's like essentially being like returning back to who they used to be. This is the Paper Princess, who is the antagonist of Frostfit Komimi story. So she's the one being like, you should marry me and then all your problems will be solved. You can obviously trust that. Cool. Cheddar! These are some fighting practice sketches I did of Cheddar and Cepheus, or Cepheus Palace. They hate each other. They hate each other so much. They hate each other so much. They will physically fight. I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that page real quick. Let's see. These are some sketches of Purely Nets. She appears in Solar Struck. Yeah, sorry. She appears in Solar Struck. She's not the protagonist, she is a side character. But still very pretty. Side character. I like making pretty OCs, pretty characters. But she's very important to the plot, but not like too major. She's good friends with Clockwork. Here is a bit more of a major character in Solar Struck. His name is Daybreak. He is the older brother to the protagonist. You might realize that I like having older brothers to my protagonist. He's also very pretty. Look at that long flowing hair. He can do magic. He's a magic man. But yes, he's in charge of making sure Sunlight, his younger sister, is taken care of. Also making sure that she's on top of her own magical studies. Some more Hachara sketches. Here goes a little bit of style experimentation with Cheddar. A little bit with Selene. I don't like how Selene turned out, but I'm really proud of how Cheddar turned out here. Act 4, Selene and Cheddar just hanging out, sitting around. Little meme redraw of Act 1 Zamia and Selene. And then Act 4 Cheddar confronting Pyron here. Here's more Hachara sketching. This will not make the actual cut. This will not make the final cut of the story. This is a bit more of a prologue, but it still happens nonetheless. Selene, when she was like 6 or so, was shoved into a tree because some dangerous people were out to get her. So she's over here being like trying to hide in the tree, and like she hears something outside, and it's Horo. Horo properly with the correct ears, and come to whisk her away into safety. And then here are some sketches of Selene's knives. Me trying to figure out how to draw her kunai, and then some throwing knives that she has. Little notes on that as well. And then some more practice with Selene and her knives, but specifically how she would hold like throwing knives. What I did was that I looked at videos of knife throwers and saw how they held their knives. I was like, okay, let me study that and try to implement that with Selene. Some more Selene sketches. Boy, oh boy, I wonder what happened to your arm. They were gonna have to get a new shirt, a new tunic. Some deer practice. This is King Titania the Fifth, Bitterroot's perception. With my Fae on Anvir. They're not technically shapeshifters. They're more like eldritch beings in which they can alter how others perceive them. So with Bitterroot's perception, King Titania has it be this weird looking deer. Very fun. Very fun. I'm not sure if I have any of Selene's perceptions in this sketchbook. I might, but If not, you can definitely check that out in the archives under like the Fae, the world building folder, King Titania, and then like Selene's perception folder. Some sketches of Frostfits. This is, I believe, Act 2, The Nights, where Komi comes across this palace in True North. Palace made of ice, surrounded by snow, barren wasteland, and she sees the knight of the palace there. Let's see. More Selene Act 3 sketches, this time with the Sky Twins, little guys. And this little guy here, I'm pretty sure that's a Fae. Are you a Fae? What does your eye look like? That's not a Fae. Okay, that's just a creature. I know it's not a Fae because its pupils are not diamonds. That's round. All my Fae have diamond pupils. At least all my Anvirian Fae have diamond pupils. Speaking of which, this is an Anvirian Fae. We can see diamond pupils. So this is the Weaver of Dew. They are Horo's little assistant. The attendant, this is their hominid disguise, so they don't want to be perceived like this. They will instead be perceived like this around hominids, just to not, try not to arouse suspicion too much. But like, you can see, like, they don't quite have 5 fingers. Also, their eyes are closed because one thing about Fae, even though they can alter how others perceive them, they cannot alter their eyes. So their eyes will always be certain color and with certain pupil shapes. So for Anvirian Fae, that's always going to be diamonds. So that's how you can tell that you're looking at a Fae or in the presence of a Fae. Of course, they try to get around that by having their eyes closed, but that's like another hint. Not like, oh, you might think you're talking to a hominid, but there's some hints that maybe not. Some notes and some little explorations about how Selene, Act 3 Selene specifically, keeps her knives on her person and how many knives does she have. And I've concluded like where the knife placements are, how she keeps them on her person, how she keeps them hidden, because for the most part I don't really draw her knives on her, but they are on her, just like under her sleeves and whatnot. And typically whenever Selene is out and about doing heist and whatnot, stealing stuff, she will carry at least 22 knives on her. Very fun. So this is where I explore Captain Chiari's hairstyle. Let's see. So this is for her Act 1. I wanted to change up, figure out what she looked like in Act 1. So this is me doing so. I'm very happy with how this design came out, so I most likely am going to be keeping it. I do want to flip her bangs to the other side to what mirrors Selene, because I know Selene has like that big swooping bang over her right eye. I'd rather have Malena kind of reflect that and have her bangs over her left eye, just to get some character variety. So just one last change to that, and I think after once I have that settled, it's all good to go. This is her Act 3, so again, slightly different than the previous sketches in this book, but I do like her hair here, so this has been canonized. So this is how she's supposed to, how she is going to be looking in Act 3. Hichara is a 5-act story, but I've mostly got Act 1, 2, and 3. Well, definitely Act 3 developed the most. Speaking of which, Act 3 sketches of Selene here, doing some rope swinging and climbing and whatnot. Little notes being like, I can't be drawing her too thin because she's not thin. She's lean and she has some muscle bumps. Like I gotta make sure that she's not like a twig. Here's Selene waking up. Some little comments towards her by the Sky Twins, but her just getting ready for the day. These are going to be some loose papers that I tore from a different sketchbook and decided to add into this sketchbook instead. So let me go ahead. These first few ones are going to be like horizontal, not vertical. Hello, those are my Kirby socks. So this is King Titania the 6th, some concept sketches. I like how this concept sketch is. Gotta figure out what they look like in their dress. This is Hechara Act 4, late Act 4 concept sketch. Here we have very familiar Pyron Araman facing off against the crew. So this is like where he's supposed to like enter through the woods and whatnot and confront everyone. And everyone's just like, okay. Let's see. These are some concept sketches of King Titania the Third. I believe it's the third. Also known as Rapoka. They are attuned to the element of ice. But I really like their design here, their sketch here. This is the weapon that they have, a very broken scythe. This is some concept sketches of King Titania the First, who is attuned to the earth element. Still trying to figure out this one. A little rough around the edges, but general vibes are there. This is technically not canon. That's supposed to be Leon / Cheddar. This is what they both look like in Act 1. They don't meet each other in Act 1. I know Leon makes some cameos in the background, but we don't formally get introduced to him until Act 3. So these are just like, little comparisons to them side by side, even though like this will never happen. This doesn't happen. And then some Act 1 sketches of Selene, me doing some style silliness here. And then some sketches of Sir Cepheus Palace in Act 2. Or in the act, I suppose. Act 2, or it could be, these can be like Act 2, 3, 4, or 5. His design doesn't really change. But like little expression practice here with him. And then, not sure if this will ever like make it into any final cuts of the comic or comics. He does appear in multiple. But just him, like, snowy mountainous setting. Very nice practice here with the background. I enjoyed that. Please. These are loose papers, so I'm kind of having a bit of a struggle. And now we flip back to vertical. Hello, this is Winter. I typically draw very cheery, but this is like more of a, things have gotten serious. In her story. So a little concept of this scene where things have gotten dire. All sad. And then more comic practice here with Selene and Cheddar. This is more or less. Yeah. So this is all in technically canon, even though it doesn't really like show up in the story, but like the vibes are like follow canon. This is just me saying like, oh, this is how I typically draw Selene first to start the day, and then I just go on to draw whatever else I need to draw that day. But here is the gardener. So this is one of the perceptions that King Titania the Fifth will have Selene perceive them as. Hechara is more or less told from Selene's perspective, so we are seeing how she sees Faye. But as you can see, closed eyes, 3 fingers when he can, very Faye, like very sparkly. So yeah, that's a Faye that they're talking to. And this little short comic is how Cheddar is just like, wait a minute, I don't think we're talking to a werefolk. Something's up here. So he's able to figure it out. A bit more comic practice with some Selene and Cheddar. This is Act 3. Telling stories on the rooftop. Very cute. Is that Zamia? That's Zamia. Hello. Act 3 Zamia here. Him just messing around, being silly towards Selene. Another short comic with Selene and Cheddar. Toast. Selene cannot cook. She's been cursed by fate to never be able to cook. But Cheddar tries to eat whatever Selene makes him. Even if it's not the best. So to say. These are some sketches of Zailani. This is another design by a ramen thief. But Zailani is one of Zamia's many siblings. But she's a real cutie. She and Winter would get along very, very well. They do. We probably won't see much of Zaylani. She's literally going to be probably like a side character that we see in Act 3 of Hachara, and that's about it. But still, very nice. Selene with some Fae, interacting with some Fae. Horo is a Fae witch, so Selene grew up surrounded by Fae all the time. This was me exploring Captain Curry's hair a little bit. This is where I was like, okay, this one could be Act 1, and as we saw earlier, it did end up becoming like her Act 1 hair design. And this just notes how this hair design keeps her like the general shape language of Act 3, so I went ahead and made that canon. Selene sketches in the water. She can swim, but sometimes she has a hard time misjudging how much air she's holding in, so like she will drown. Well, this is like some sketches of her drowning and be like, oh my gosh, oh no. But eventually Vivian Delacroix, who belongs to Rainy Noise, ends up saving her. So good job, Vivian, using those lifeguard skills. Here goes some more sketches of Selene in Act 4. I really like these sketches here. Very proud of these ones. Although I did have some notes being like, oh, I kind of messed up her sleeves. Little slightly puffed up sleeves in this sketch. But I like the style here. I like how I drew her. So, very happy with these. This is the very last page of the sketchbook. Of course, I had to end it off on Selene. I love her very much. Her for Kunai, the Sky Twins, her just running and having some sort of bag of loot right here, and overall just like a nice little personal celebration of me getting through the book. But on the very, very like back of the sketchbook, the actual cardboard backing here, decided to draw as many of my own characters as possible. Of course, we can see Selene and crew right in the center. Some of these characters do not appear in the sketchbook, but that's okay. I'm just like, I want to draw them anyway. A little cameo of Nephil Weaver. This is a character by Rainy the Noise. She is a were-spider. She does exist in Anvir, so I'm just like, you know what, little cameo, you will be included in this. Even if she isn't mine, but still. She appears in a bit of Cepheus' story, interacts with Hora a little bit, that's why she's like right there. But overall, I try to keep the composition of characters who have connections to each other, like close together. So like we'll have like Mother and Ladaros here, Bitterroot. Sorry, I am like blanking out on these names. I am so sorry. Bitterroot, Sheriff Honeybranch, and then Pepperjack here. Emberguard. Goes some Frostfit. Horo again appears in Frostfit. We do have the Paper Princess. This is Selene's perception of Pink Titania. They do appear in Frostfit, Hachara, and a bit of Emberguard. So I'll have characters that are like that in which they appear across multiple stories in like tandem to how the stories are in relation to each other. Here goes Apricity, who has story connections to Cepheus. So that's why she's all just like, hold on, you. And yeah, just more others. There goes Sunlight, Daybreak, Purely Night, Clockwork, and then Typhi. They all exist in their own, and Solarstruck. I haven't drawn these two in a while. This is Princess Lolas and then Fireheart. As part of my Wingfight series. Let's see. These are like animatic crew right here. Here goes Cash and Fiona. They're part of my Prom King animatic project. Pop and Propane as my Pop Nightmares animatic. These two are cousins. So this is Propane Hachara. His real name is Basil Hachara, and this is Peppermint Hachara. These are cousins. This is Marika, so she's in the same story as Peppermint. Here goes Ocean and Drive, that's part of my Ocean Drive series. Here goes Moon and Dream, part of my Moon Dream animatic series. Here Goes Adventure. She has her own comic series that I'm working on called Feather Drift. And then these little four little guys in the corner are part of Undiscovery. Little story I'm working on, personal story. But yeah, that is going to be the entirety of the sketchbook. My second sketchbook collection of of my characters and whatnot. Very fun to go through, give my thoughts here and there. Again, it is available on my Ko-fi when this video is up on my YouTube, so everything will be in the description below where you can access that. Going forward, I don't think this will be my last character sketch collection book, but going forward, I do want to have dedicated sketchbooks to respective stories instead of just having like a single sketchbook with characters from different stories. So what I mean by that is that I want a Hechara sketchbook, that is just focused on Hechara, all the viz that like development and art and writing for in that sketchbook for Hechara, and then another for Frostfit, another for Emberguard, and so on and so forth. I do know I'm going to be starting a sketchbook for the world building on Anvir, because I do want to get that all fleshed out. Once I get that fleshed out, everything else should be smooth sailing for my stories. But that's been planned going forward. Not sure when the next time I'll be filming another video. I do hope to make more animatics posts here on my channel. But as always, whenever I finish a sketchbook, I'll make a video just like this. Upload the book free to look at on my shop. And then just go on from there and make progress with my work. Whew, what a video. I'm not used to talking this long. But I do want to say, if you've made it to the very end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. I would not be here without you. And with that, I do hope that you have a wonderful day. And I'll catch you around next time.